Okay, so we've created our CloudFront distribution, and CloudFront has distributed that across all of its edge locations across the globe. What we need to do now is that we need to make sure that Amazon Route 53 domain name service is distributing all of its traffic coming to our domain name out to this CloudFront distribution. So the first thing I want to do is just take a copy of this domain name, the CloudFront domain name, and we're going to jump into Route 53 console. So again, we go to Services and Route 53, and a hosted zone would have already been created when we purchased that domain name, and so there it is. And we can see there's already been 4 records that have been created for us by AWS. So we have a look at that, and we can see there's a name server record and a start of authority record and 2 CNAME records. So these 2 were created when we created when we purchased the domain name, and these 2 here were created by the certificate manager when we went through that validation process to create that validation between our ownership of this domain and that certificate. So what we need to do now is we need to create a record set for directing traffic from our Apex domain, which is, in this case, is the devkid.com. Yours will of course be different. And we need to direct that through to our CloudFront distribution. So we select an A record, and it will be an alias, and it will go to our CloudFront distribution. And so we drop down here, we click on alias target, we will be able to select our CloudFront distribution. And then we click on create. So after a certain amount of time, that will propagate across the internet, and then when you type into your browser the Apex domain there, the devkid.com or whatever yours is, the traffic will be directed through to the CloudFront distribution. So we need to create another one for the www. So when people go to www, they will get directed to that CloudFront distribution as well. Now, we're not allowed to create more than one of these A records. We need to create a CNAME record. We can't have more than one A going to our Apex domain. So we do a CNAME, and that will not be an alias, and that will be, we just simply paste in our CloudFront domain. And what that will do, again, is anything that comes in for www.thedevkid.com will be resolved to that CloudFront distribution. Now that will take a while to propagate, and Route 53 won't be able to tell you when it's propagated across the internet. So what there's a website called What's My DNS, and if you go there and you just put in the domain, so I've got here thedevkid.com, and you want to check on the A record, just click on search. You can see there, I've actually put this in before, and it's propagated quickly. It's not going to propagate that quickly for you. This is the second time that I've run through this, but it'll take about 15 minutes or so to propagate out. And we can check the www and see whether that one has started to propagate or not. Now that one was a CNAME record, and we can search that as well. And there we go. So that was very quick actually. And that's one thing you'll learn about AWS or Route 53 is that if you've used other DNS services, Route 53 is very quick and very reliable, and like everything with AWS, it's certainly best of class. So that's pretty good. So what we can do now is if we go to the devkid.com, there you go. So that's all up and running, not a problem, and we've got HTTPS here. So we came in on HTTP, and CloudFront automatically converted that over to HTTPS. So we're now on encrypted traffic now. And we do www, it should go to the same area. And there we go. So www is also working. So that's pretty good. Okay, so before we finish up with this part of the lab, I just want to give you a quick overview of how to invalidate a CloudFront distribution. So what I mean by that is that when you create, or when CloudFront creates a distribution, it has a time to live, or a TTL. and it won't be changed until that is up. So if you have a TTL of 24 hours, it's not going to fetch new data or new information from your S3 bucket shorter time than that. So if, for example, you've got something that's critical that needs to be updated on your website and you can't wait 24 hours for it to be updated, what you can do is you can invalidate that CloudFront distribution. You can invalidate the whole distribution or just parts of it. So what we do is go into CloudFront and we can click on our distribution, and then we can go into invalidations, and then we can go and create invalidation. So there's a few examples that were there, but you know, if you just wanted to invalidate everything, you could just do a wildcard symbol like that and it'll invalidate everything in that domain or in that distribution. If you just wanted to invalidate your main web page, you could just put in index.html, but you click on invalidate and then it will go through, and after a certain amount of time it'll come through like this and come through as completed. This is one that I did previously because it takes around about 15 minutes or so to invalidate it, depending on what you're invalidating. So that brings us to the end of this part of the lab. Coming up next, we're going to talk about using the bucket redirection feature of S3 website hosting. What that means is that we can have traffic that is coming in for a domain and we can redirect it somewhere else, which is really quite handy. So you might have, for example, if we've got, you know, backspaceacademy.com, we might have .net, .com.au, .com.br and all these ones, and we want to redirect them all to the same domain. We can do that by creating a bucket, and like what we did before, and a hosting bucket, but we can select redirection on that bucket and it will redirect everything back to our main domain. So that's coming up next, and I'll see you in that one.